What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Tea with Publicity, Season 2. I have another great episode for you guys today with Zachariah Porter. You probably know him from TikTok or Reels. He's just like so funny, and he recently moved to New York. So I was like so excited to actually meet him in person and have a chance to connect with him, because up until this point, it's only been conversation via DM or like following each other, all that stuff. So anyway, you guys are going to laugh your ass off. He's amazing. But before we get into that, I do want to remind you guys that Macy's is the sponsor of Tea with Publicity, and they always have some kind of sale going on. And I have another great sale to tell you guys about. So Macy's Great Shoe Sale is here just in time to debut your fall statement shoes. Buy one pair, get 30% off, and buy two pairs, get 40% off. I actually have my eye on a pair of boots, so like I'm 100% taking advantage of this, and I will link some fall shoe options for you guys on my Instagram stories this week. You could save more and more the more you shop. So bring a few new additions into your fall rotation. They've got the latest trends of the season: over-the-knee boots if you're feeling like an off-duty model, lug sole boots for your can't-be-bothered moods, booties for every vibe in between, and so much more. The Great Shoe Sale is only happening from October 5th to October 12th. So head over to Macys.com/shoes. That's Macys.com/shoes. And as a reminder, that's October 5th through October 12th. And again, I'll remind you guys on my Instagram stories, just so you don't miss it, because it's a really great deal. But before we get into the episode with Zachariah, I need to tell you how tired I am. And I mean, I feel like I could complain every single day of my life about being tired if I really wanted to, because like, when am I not tired? But today is like a new level of exhaustion. So my sister and brother-in-law have a wedding this weekend, or this week, I should say. It was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They're gone. And, they had this wedding. They committed to it long before the baby was born. So they asked me, like, literally while my sister was still pregnant, like, could you babysit this weekend with mom, like our mom, because my dad had a business trip and my mom didn't really want to do it alone for 3 nights, and I didn't really want to do it alone for 3 nights, which means like my mom and I are a tag team. So I was like, yeah, like we'll be fun. Also, I'm obsessed with him. So he's amazing, like great vibes, love babysitting him. He wasn't the problem. The problem was my mom, the real baby. She kept me up all night. Like, I'm not even kidding. So they have a bedroom. They have a guest bedroom, and then they have their master bedroom, and then the baby's room. So my brother-in-law basically, it's kind of hard to explain. My brother-in-law basically flew home last night, and then he had to fly to meet her for the wedding. So he slept in the guest room, and we slept in their king-size bed together, me and my mom. So we were closer to the baby's room, since we had to make sure, like, if he woke up, we were there. He sleeps through the night, 12 hours. Like, he was fine. He wasn't the problem. My mom, we're like laying in bed. We watched the Southern Charm, season finale. She watches the show. I don't, but it was good regardless. My mom is like, let's just like play on our phones a little bit before bed. And I'm like, okay, yeah. Like, that's what I do every night anyway. This bitch gets out her full-blown iPad. Not like the mini iPad. It's big. It's like 12 feet. 12 feet. Oh my God, 12 inches. That's how tired I am. It's like a foot long. Brightness all the way up. It lights up the entire room. I'm like, how do you expect me to unwind for bed when you have this big ass thing lit up? So then the two of us were like crying, laughing, like not making noises, because I was like, Mom, I cannot do this. Like, you're torturing me. So she puts her iPad down, takes out her phone, brightness fully up. I'm like, no wonder you complain you have trouble going to sleep. You're sitting in front of like this bright ass screen. So we were just like crying, laughing. Then my poor little grandma like called my mom at like 11:30. My mom's phone was on loud. That like gets us going. We were just up all night, the two of us. At one point, I woke up at like 3 a.m. My mom's sitting straight up in the bed. And I'm like, why are you sitting up? And she's like, I'm restless. I'm like, I'm restless too, but I'm still laying down. we talked all night. We were up together. Like, it was just so crazy. And meanwhile, the baby is sleeping through the night. So now I'm back in the city and I have to go back to Hoboken after this recording and do it all over again. So this time I packed like sleeping gummies. I'm like, I need to drug myself because like I don't know how. I need sleep at this point, but I think my body's so tired that I'm just going to pass out anyway. So that's where I'm at in life. Babysitting nephew, great. Mother, not so great. But we love her anyway. So yeah, things have been a little bit crazy over here. I am gearing up for the move, but you're probably like tired of hearing about at this point. Yet for some reason, and if you guys are new here, I've been talking about this on my stories, on my TikTok, on my podcast, and I'm still getting DMs from people being like, wait, you're moving? And I'm like, are we consuming the same content? Like, I feel like I'm saying it so much, but I guess people are missing it. And people keep asking me, like, what are you doing to prepare? Are you feeling like you're ready? Have you planned anything? No, I'm not ready. No, I haven't planned anything. Yes, this week it finally started to hit me. I think as I've begun my farewell to New York tour, like I went to Hillstone, which I know is not just like in New York, but I know it to be a New York place because I've only gone here. I went to Hillstone. I started going to all different restaurants, trying things that I haven't tried. Like as I begin to make my way around the city and do more things, it's starting to be more real. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. And then I'm going to spend all next week like really getting things like my ducks in a row, finding out like what podcast studio I'll be using there, starting to book guests, all the good stuff. So let me know who in LA you guys want to see on the pod. I definitely have people that I've started to keep in mind and outreach, and I'm open to suggestions. So I am ready and I'm excited. But before I leave New York, I have amazing guests lined up and I'm really excited for you guys to listen to these next few episodes. So I do want to just thank you again, like I said, for sticking with me and being such a big part of the show. And yeah, I guess I could also update you guys like on my mental health. I think I'm in a good spot. Like I have been really focusing on myself. I have a whole slew of doctors, like a team at this point, I swear. I have a therapist, a nutritionist, a primary care physician. Today I was at a plastic surgeon's office. No, I'm not getting plastic surgery. I need something on my ear removed. Don't ask. But I have like a team of people around me, I feel like. And it's like a really good thing because I feel like I have someone for everything. I have my manager for work. I have my social media girl for social media help. I have my nutritionist for food and inflammation. I'm my therapist for mental health issues. Like I'm just armed with a whole team of people at this point, and I feel like I'm in a really good place. And I dyed my hair a little lighter. I don't know if you could tell. I'm feeling back to like my old hair. I don't love the dark on myself. I don't hate it. And it sucks because that is my natural color. But I think something about a little bit of lighter is like nicer on my complexion. So I have my lighter hair back. I'm just like feeling good. I'm feeling ready for this next chapter, putting better energy out there. I don't know. Like, when you start putting good vibes, like people notice. Like literally the guy collecting my ticket on the train the other day was like, hey, gorgeous. And like, no, was I interested? Of course not, because like it just wasn't the time or place, but it still felt good because I'm like, oh, I'm putting good vibes out there. Or maybe it's just because I've been wearing mascara and like foundation day to day, not even foundation. I've been wearing like CC cream regularly, and people keep DMing me being like, wow, what are you doing lately? Like you look amazing. I'm like, it's called makeup because you usually just see me looking like I rolled out of bed because I truly can't be bothered. And I also don't care. But yeah, that's what I'm up to. That's what I've been doing. And I'm really excited for you guys to listen to this interview. We are going to spill the tea. I want to talk about what's going on TikTok with Michaela. You probably know her. She does all of the makeup reviews. She's getting quote unquote canceled, although I don't believe she is, because of us, whatever. We'll get into it. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about Hailey Bieber on Call Her Daddy. As you guys know, I have thoughts. And a new trend that I am noticing is back in style. And we're going to talk through if it's a love it, hate it, or a Hibley. So stay tuned. We will get to all of that now. Okay, guys, I am here with Zachariah. Hi.
Hello.
Your name reminds me of like Mariah Carey. Therefore, I feel like you were destined to be a star.
I love that. It's the Aya, yeah.
It's the
It's the IAH. I love it. Yeah, that's fun.
We were talking about how like Uber drivers can't get your name right.
Never.
Like, is it one of those things where you like get a coffee or you like place an order for takeout and it just says like the weirdest thing on it?
Yeah, I think Uber drivers, they love to just like start like reading the name and then they just give up halfway through and they're like, it is what it is. And I'll get into any Uber and they'll be like, is this so-and-so? I don't even listen. I'm like, it's probably me. It may not be, but we'll figure it out. But yeah, honestly, for takeout, I just say Zach a lot because it's just easier for me.
That is easier. Okay.
Yeah.
But or you could just go by like Araya.
Ooh, oh my God, the rebrand.
Wait, I feel like that needs to be your like alter ego.
You know what, though? There is no other Zachariahs that I know.
No, there
which
isn't.
I feel like is fun to be like not competing in that like space, I guess.
Yeah, like there's one.
Yeah, and it's me. Sorry, Mariah.
So you like play many characters on social media, on TikTok.
Yeah.
Have you always been like a theatrical person or like had like a little acting flair? Like where does this come from?
I am I am like a product of someone who consumed so much TV and media when I was younger. Like that was like I loved watching TV. I wasn't a sports person. I didn't really do theater in like school because I was like always working. But yeah, no, I always was a class clown, always a big ham. And I just like am creating characters that I like saw growing up on like everything that I would watch.
Wait, it's so funny you say that because you know how parents are so crazy these days with like kids watching TV and screen time. Like the television raised me. Like
it did.
Let justice for kids watching TV because I literally grew up watching TV and that shaped my career.
I think so too. And I think it gives you reference points for like certain like perspectives in jokes, especially for me, like writing jokes and characters. I feel like had I not watched so much TV growing up, I never would have been able to like do the characters that I do today, which I think
What was
fun.
Like your guilty pleasure television show?
It was always different ages, but I like loved reality TV. Like I loved Jersey Shore. My first like huge binge thing was like I used to love America's Next Top Model, which I know looking back on it, it's like horrific, but in the time it was like everything to me. I used to watch a lot of Law & Order SVU.
Wait, my sister is like so tall and skinny and she tried out for America's Next Top Model like when she was maybe a freshman in college.
What year was this?
Maybe like 2010, 2009.
Okay, good.
Prime.
Yeah.
And she went in New York. They had an open casting call. And I'll never forget. It was like when Ed Hardy was like really expensive and like it was one of those brands that like wasn't like tacky yet. It was like untouchable. Yeah. So my mom like bought her this like Ed Hardy tank top
for the audition,
for the casting.
Oh, that's awesome!
It was so like spunky, and she wore like skinny like jeans, and she made it to the final round in New York. And then they all had to stand in a line. This is some tea. They all had to stand in a line and like talk about like something. They asked them a hardship that they've been through in their life.
Producer question.
And like my sister is like the picture of like white privilege. Like she's like a white girl. She went to like a great college. So she's like, they're coming up to her and she's like, I don't have anything to say. She said the person next to her stands forward. She's like, my dad stabbed me. My sister's like, I'm out. Like, there's no way I'm making it. I have no story to tell.
Well, nothing's going to beat a stabbing from the father. Like,
she was like, fuck. So she got cut in like the last round because she didn't have like the personality. Like, you know, you needed the
reality
look
TV for
and the story.
Yeah. Reality TV, they are obsessed with like having a storyline for sure.
You need one. Have you ever auditions for anything?
Yeah, I wanted to be in the real world so bad when I was younger, and I made it to the first 3 rounds when I was like 22. But I was with somebody. I was in a relationship, and they hate that. Like they literally hate that.
Yeah.
Unless you're like, hey, I'm gonna cheat. They're like, no, you're not.
Or like we're broken up. Like you lie.
Yeah, I don't think I want to do reality TV anymore. I don't see that for like my career. I've had a couple opportunities to audition for things. I've been like, oh, like to do like I was asked to do The Circle or just get to start the audition process.
Don't get me started.
I wasn't gonna probably make it, but they were like, oh, would you consider like doing that? And I just feel like it's not for me at this point. I like to have control over the way that I protect myself.
The Circle's the one show I would go on.
Yeah.
Still. So, because also grew up on Real World, obsessed, applied in college.
I know, right?
Got a call back, didn't go. I just didn't go to it. I apply to everything because I'm one of those people that's just before I worked in social media, I was so obsessed with the entertainment industry that I would just throw my hat in the ring and be like, I'll make up my mind if it happens. So what else did the Circle approached me, or I applied during the pandemic, the very beginning, and I made it to the final round casting. I
feel like you'd be really good at it.
It's the one show I want to do because I don't feel like they make your narrative weird.
Would you do yourself, or would you pretend to be somebody else?
I want to be myself.
I would too, because I can't commit to the lie that long. And I feel like it just doesn't look good.
I'm just not that manipulative. Yeah. I feel like because we are ourselves on social media, yes, you play characters, but you're still yourself.
Yeah.
Because that's how you are.
You know what's funny about this? I have a person from my hometown who just made the top 3 for Big Brother. I don't know him at all. Did you watch Big Brother? I don't.
Obsessed.
Oh, wait. So you know the guy with the long hair this season? The skinny, white guy? He made to top 3. I don't know who won. Did it end? Did it finish airing?
Wait, he made it to top 3?
Yeah. This year.
There was no skinny white guy in top 3.
Well, who's the guy with the long hair? Did he not make top 3? He has long hair.
Who's the guy with the long hair?
Well, I don't know. He's on the show, and he's from my hometown, and people loved him. But then his sister came out on TikTok and was like, he's terrible. His sister was like, he is a bad guy. And I'm like, oh my God. It's just not that I'm a terrible person. I would never have a bad storyline, but you just don't know what's gonna come out.
Well, Big Brother's nasty that.
Nasty.
It is so
you kind of have to be
nasty.
Right to if you're gonna win. I feel like you kind of have to be.
Well, it's not even the people necessarily. It's the fan base. Because they have live cameras, you could watch people. That's why I'm
Ew. First of all, just give me a break.
Yeah, you hear people farting, and it's so embarrassing. I'd be like, leave me alone.
Yeah. Oh my God. Watching clips from Big Brother is really funny, especially the celebrity ones they've done and stuff.
Yes.
Oh my God, they've had some moments.
I feel like we both grew up probably having the same interests.
I grew up on Rock of Love, Flavor of Love, Charm School, Tila Tequila. I should not have been watching that. Actually, you know who?
No, same. I would sneak it.
Did you watch Girls Next Door?
Of course.
Have you been listening to their podcast?
No.
Oh, they're on
Is it a rewatch podcast?
It is, but the first 6 episodes, they haven't even gotten to because they're just how they ended up in the house. And I've listened to Holly. I've read some of her book and stuff.
I read her book.
Her and Bridget are on it, and they're just magic. They're so magic. Even they've even been talking about Kendra and how Kendra's been lying. It is tea. And I'm waiting to get to the point where they start rewatching, which I think will be interesting. But just to hear the whole backstory of the producers and stuff, I'm obsessed with it. I'm
that show was a cultural moment.
Yeah, and we should have. I don't know how I should have been watching that. I was too young to be watching that.
I was way too young, and I just. I always joke I have this memory of sitting in front of this TV, and I was sitting with my hands on the power button because I was supposed to be watching Nickelodeon or something, or not watching TV. And I just have this memory of sitting because I was immersed in the real world, and I'm watching it
yeah.
And then if I heard my parents coming, I would flip it off and run.
Change it as fast as you can. Oh my God, that's hysterical.
I was the same way, but that's why I'm you know what? We parlayed that somehow into careers. So
I think so.
If my kid wants to look at a screen,
yeah,
go for it.
Exactly. And I don't know how people are becoming professional video game players, and I guess some people are, and they're
Twitch or whatever.
And there's people probably started out being really obsessed with video games as well. So there's always a way to pivot. I think majority of people probably just consume too much and they don't do anything with it. But at least for us, sorry, Mom, it worked out. So
I guess that's what happens. Yeah, I still have an obsession with pop culture. I can't get enough. I feel I was saying this to my friend the other day. I was I just would never want to go back to school. I don't have the brain for it. I don't retain things. And she was lie. And I was what do you mean? And she's you retain stuff. You know everything about every celebrity. It's just selective.
Yeah, exactly. It's what you're interested in. You have to do something that you're actually want to care to learn about.
Yeah, I was oh, true. Maybe I don't give myself enough credit. I do retain information, just not the smart kind.
Do you ever hear these universities are doing these courses on music? They'll do a Taylor Swift course.
Yes.
Or I would go back for one of those. One of those kind of courses. I'm that's really interesting.
A Kardashian course.
Yeah, they did one on branding, I think. I think someone did something on their branding.
Or I wish I could go back and write my papers on that kind of stuff.
What did you go to school for?
Media studies and communications. So it's like right up.
Oh my God. I was talking to Erica about that, and we were talking about how like she has this big theory that everyone that's been doing TikTok or like people that she knows, everyone went to school for communications.
Yeah, every single
so funny.
All of us.
Yeah, I went for advertising and PR, but under that communications like umbrella, and look what we're all doing.
Exactly.
We're all doing it. It's so funny.
So I know, it really is so true. You also just recently launched your podcast.
Yes, we're on episode 4.
Do you think it's fun?
I love it. So I've been doing just video work for like 3 years now. So to do something different that's long form, my first time ever doing long form.
Yeah.
And it's fun and people are really responding to it and we're building an audience. And I think it's just a new endeavor. So it's exciting to do something new and fresh.
Yeah. And you're doing it with your boyfriend.
Yes. It's called Camp Counselors with Zachariah and Jonathan. Again, it's great. It's so fun. He's done podcasts for a long time. He does content too. So we wanted something together that made the most sense. So that's why we decided to do
Did you guys meet through doing content together?
So before the pandemic, he liked my pictures on Instagram. And he's from Philly and I was from Mass. And he's like, he's like, you keep on my Explore page, which I didn't believe, but he's the only person in my life that I've ever seen that's like constantly on their Explore page. He's like lives on it on Instagram.
Oh, like he's like, I've never looked at it in my life.
I never look at mine ever.
My sister lives on it.
So there is people.
Yeah, there's freaks.
So and he's one of them. And apparently I was on there and he liked it. And then I'm such a ham. I'm like, I DM'd him. I'm like, are you going to like hit me up? Like you're just like from Philly. So we talked for a little bit and then the pandemic hit. We stopped talking and then the pandemic hit and he was like, oh, and at that time I was like waiting tables and he was like, hey, are you good? And I was like, oh my God, that's really sweet. I was like, actually, I'm not good. I lost my job, but I was, but that's how it all kind of started. So we were long distance up until July of this year, 2 years. But it was good because men distract me. They always have my entire life. So while I was building this like TikTok kind of career, it was good to have somebody that was like, always there for support, long distance, like not like, I don't know, like not at an arm's reach.
That makes total sense,
right?
Yeah.
And even like moving in together now, it's not like difficult, but it's been an adjustment of me being like, okay, like I need to put away my alone time because I love living alone. I love
me too.
You know
I'm too used to it, I think.
I know. Well, it's going to be difficult when you don't do it one day because it's like, oh my God, it's like it's your own personal like I don't know sanctuary. And then if the dishes aren't done, if the laundry's not done, it's on you. You know what I mean? You're not like looking at someone else's like, you know.
So true.
Yeah.
It's like I could leave my stuff out, but if someone else does, I'm like,
yeah,
ew.
It's annoying. But it's like, hey, well, actually, he's actually a lot like cleaner of a person or like tidier of a person than I am.
So what? Like, how old were you when you came out, or did you even have to come out? Like, what was your...
No one was surprised, but
yeah, that's
like sobbing. Everyone's like, Zach, just sit down. Barbara Streisand. It's all set. No, but
like we know.
It was weird. I grew up super religious, so I think it took me a little longer to come out. Like I came out at 16, but I knew at like 6 that I was gay.
Why is it always like gay people are always super religious?
Yeah.
Like why do they get dealt that hand?
I don't know. And it's, you know, it's funny. And my parents aren't even religious now. And I always wondered like why in that period of their life did they like kind of like seek out religion while we were growing up. So when I came out, it was kind of difficult because I just had so many friends from the church and I was like really like anxious about people finding out. But thank God I did it at 16 because as soon as I like did it, I feel like I controlled my own like narrative because people would always be like, oh, why do you talk like a girl? Are you gay?
Yeah.
And then when you can finally be like, yeah, I am, the conversation ends. It's like, oh, okay, well then it's over.
I actually feel like 16's like earlier than most people even, which is good because like you're still in high school at that point.
Yeah.
So like you have that whole time to like be yourself.
Yeah.
Versus like having to conceal, you know?
I couldn't imagine. You know what I mean?
No.
I've never had an attraction to a girl in my entire life. I had 2 girlfriends and they were like in middle school and it's just so funny to see them now because they all have kids and they're like married and I'm like, well, we held hands one time. I remember.
Like whoops, didn't know then what I know now. But
yeah, but I always knew. It's so funny, right? Like,
yeah, you do like... really innately, and also like even just myself growing up with kids who came out later in life. It's like I even knew as like a young child about them. Like you just know, and when you're little, like you just accept people. You don't even care.
Yeah.
It's like it's really just growing up and the world where you're like, oh, should I like? Is this a secret? It's so silly that people even have to like come out.
Yeah.
That's why I asked. I'm like, did you even have to?
Well, and I'm lucky too because I'm from Mass, which is a very like democratic area. Yeah. It's really open out there. And I always think I'm so lucky that I didn't like grow up in the middle of like the Midwest. You know what I mean? Some like crazy like, I don't know, town that's like small and stuff.
That's so true.
I had a good network and I've never really faced any sort of backlash against it. My family was really cool. I was like, no one was surprised. It was so funny.
They were like, okay.
My mom took my sister to a bar to tell her, and my sister was like, this is so dramatic because my sister's like 10 years older than me. So like they had the girl like me and like, well, Zach did it. And they were like, finally. Oh my
I love how
God.
every single person's reaction was like, yeah, no. Like,
yeah.
We know.
I made a TikTok the other day, like joking about like my mom coming down in the middle of the night, and I had like my shirt tied to like a belly shirt, and I was like dancing to Pussycat Dolls, and she was like, okay, like, are we gonna keep doing this? Like, let's just have the conversation.
Yeah, like, ready when you are.
Yeah, ready when you are. It's literally what it was.
Okay, wait, I have a really, like, weird question that I've just always thought of. Like, let's say I'm a parent, and I suspect that my child is either gay, queer, trans, whatever it may be. Is it my, like, as a parent, would you want your parent to say something, or would you be, would you be like, mom, stop?
Yeah, I think it's just about creating a space that feels safe enough that when they're ready to talk about it, they're ready to talk about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think like just making sure that like people are like, even like my mom buying me like the Glee DVDs. Remember when people buy DVDs of shows?
Just making you comfortable. Yeah.
Like, okay,
you're
like,
right.
They're very aware of what's going on. I think it's just like setting up a comfortable environment for someone to feel like they can talk about it when they're ready.
That's a really good point. I mean? Also, I feel like now just like knowing what I know, if I suspect anything, I'll be like, do you have any crushes at school? Any girls or boys? Like, I'll just say both and just let them tell me.
Exactly. I think that's a fair way of doing it too. I think it's just like destigmatizing that whole kind of like, oh my God, you know, because I think what the move is going to be like going on later in life, or as the years progress, is that I think sexuality is just going to be on like a scale.
That's what I think. Have you ever heard?
I think it's the Kinsey scale, where you find out like how gay, like I am as gay as it gets. Like there is no, but then I have to honor the fact that people are as straight as it gets. You know what I mean? Like they're but most people I think really float on that spectrum. Yeah. So I think that's what we're going to end up seeing more of.
100%, like with like our kids.
Yeah,
like we're just
which is like, fun and exciting. Like let people just live their lives. You know,
and also like not have to question anything.
Yeah,
and just kind of like. I don't know. I think it's going to be really cool when we see like two dads picking up kids from school.
Yeah.
Or two moms or whatever it may be, because like I didn't grow up around that.
Yeah. Either did I.
Like it wasn't like common in my like town that I grew up in to see queer relationships or anything of that nature. So it's going to be cool because I feel like, especially living in New York and like you said, like East Coast, everyone I know is going to be like raising families in that way, or even just having kids later. Mm-hmm. Like people are now having kids like via surrogate or IVF, or like it's just things are really going to change. So I'm interested to see kind of like what that's like.
I think it's just going to look like just a general like mosaic of just people from all different walks of life doing it. Versus like when we were growing up, it was kind of like the one way to do things. And I think now. We're realizing there's like 1,000 ways to live your life. You know?
It's so much better the way things are going. I want to get your Scandi story. And I'm going to share one too.
Okay. Do you want to go first?
Mine's like kind of, okay. Mine's not sexual. Mine's.
Oh, mine's sexual.
Mine's. No, because I just have to share one every week. So I go both those. Mine's mortifying.
Oh, I love that. Okay, go.
So, when I was in third grade, speaking about growing up, you know how you could just like so clearly picture like where you grew up in your school and everything? I like bought this weird like cheerleading gear because I did cheerleading like 1 year and like at the age of like 7, like I was very young, and they were like, oh, in case you're going to be like a lifer in the cheer community, we recommend you size up in all of the clothes, which is like so silly because I literally did it 1 year and like my shoes were flopping off my feet because they made me buy everything so big.
So weird.
So I bought this like, my mom bought me this like huge flannel. It was like a, like not even a flannel, fleece. It was a fleece like a half zip fleece. And for whatever reason, I just like had it at school with me that day. And I was never one of those kids that like had accidents, like peed my pants. I just wasn't that kid. I never wet the bed.
Love that.
There's peers and there's not. I wasn't one of them. Luckily for me, until this day. So I'm sitting in third grade and I don't know what happens. Like, I don't know if I was too shy to ask the teacher to go to the bathroom, which, like, I don't know why that's so embarrassing when you're young.
Yeah, no, it is, though.
Or if I asked and he said no. Like, I don't know what the situation was. All I know is I'm sitting in my chair in my jeans and I'm like, I'm going to pee my pants.
Oh, no.
And do you know I still have trauma thinking about this?
Yeah, that is, like, so
And I peed my pants sitting down at my desk, okay? And it was like dripping onto the floor. No. And there was this kid in front of me, and I was like, I tried to distract. So I was like, ew, this stuff just came out of your shoe. I tried to blame it on him.
You're a survivor.
No one said anything. I had the big fleece that they made me buy that was too big, and I just let it soak up all of the pee.
Honestly, genius.
I just sat on it. I was very, very resourceful. I just like took it. It was like around my waist, and I just sat on it and just let this huge fleece just compile like a sponge with all of the pee. But my jeans were wet, and I wore it tied around my waist.
What time of day was this?
Like the middle of the day.
Oh, no. So you have like, what happened?
Well, I guess what I don't understand is, like, I think I did a sly job, but, like, there obviously had to be pee all over. So it's like, either I did a sly job because the teacher never said anything.
Really?
Or the teacher turned a blind eye.
Well, she must have not known because I don't think she would have let you like go out.
That's what I'm saying.
And if she would, like, girl, your job is to like fix this.
But my point is, like, so did I do as good of a job concealing it as I thought?
I think you did with that big flannel. Yeah, you did. And even that little side story, like, what's coming out of your shoe? Like, you were like firing all cylinders. Like, you knew.
Is that not traumatic?
It is. And when do you think about it? Like late at night, you're like, damn, that was really a moment.
No, like
in my life.
often. I'm like, wow, I remember it was like a hunter green. I'm like, wow, I literally soaked my pee up like a sponge with that.
Yeah. And do you know how much, like, okay, so I one time tried to pee in a cup in a car and I wasn't paying attention and the cup overflowed. You don't realize how much.
I was just going to say.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's deceiving in the toilet bowl or the urinal, whatever you use.
What did you do with the flannel?
I wore it around my waist the rest of the day.
Oh, that's what you did?
Because my jeans were wet.
Well, that was wet too.
I know, but it was dark.
Yeah, it was dark. You were just like, hey, everyone. I was like, what?
I was walking around wet.
God. So what did your mom say when you got home?
I literally think no one knows.
To this day? Thank you. First of all, thank you for being so brave and telling that story. Oh my God.
Isn't that traumatic?
Yeah, that is traumatic for sure.
So that's my scanty.
I love that though. I'm glad that you were able to open this up and hopefully this is a process to heal.
Yeah, just really get it out there. You know, they say that you really should open up about things that are traumatic to you.
Yeah, so. You definitely should. And I'm proud of you. I love that. Mine is definitely, I thought like sexual. I don't know why I thought that.
They're mostly sexual. Okay. The ones that people submit on my stories are wild.
So that's what I did. I was going through your story and I like was shocked at some of these stories. I can never even trump those. But I do have a small one. So being gay, like there is a lot of anonymous like hooking up. And I think it starts from like when you're young. Because I remember like hooking up with people before I was even out. Because I kind of felt like, oh, like through hooking up, it's like the time to kind of like feel like you're your authentic self. And then you kind of like push it back in the closet. Yeah. And I know a lot of gay people have done that a lot. So I remember like right after like high school, I was already out at this time, but I was hooking up with this like 30-year-old. So I was like 18, 19, and he was a lot older than me. But I loved it. But he was always so weird. He would like, it was shady.
How did you find him?
Grindr. Oh my God, for sure. Like,
okay. Yeah. So you had apps at that age?
Oh yeah.
Okay, because I was like,
that was a thing for sure. Okay. By that point. So I hit up this guy and we'd hang out a lot. We'd text or whatever. But he always like had me come over like the randomest times, and it was always like, don't talk. It was like just sex. That's all it was. And he was hot, and I always liked older guys.
Sip it up.
So I was like, yeah. And it was like, get up. So it was fine, but it happened like for the course of 6 months, like a couple times. I would say like 4 or 5 times, and it was great. And that was it. And then I like got a boyfriend. We were together for a long time. And then when I became single again, I was back on the apps, and I met like another older guy. And it was probably like a little bit less of an age difference, but he was also in his 30s at the time. And I was like, okay, great. And we started to like really hang out. And I was like, oh, I like this guy. He's really cool. And I'll never forget one time we went to the Apple store, and I'm like an independent person. I've always been very independent. And I was like having him do my errands with me, and I was getting my phone looked at or whatever. And I was like, oh, I really like that green phone case. And he was like, oh, you like that? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, I'll get it for you. And I was like, no, you don't have to do that. And he was like, don't make it a thing. And he put his hand in front of me, and I was like,
Daddy.
Papa. All right. So we were hanging out a lot, and we'd hook up or whatever. But he was always like really weird about his life. He was like really like, oh, I don't want to talk about it. And I was like, all right, like we're all going through stuff. I'm just chilling, like vibing, right? I just get a long-term relationship. One time we're at his house and we're like on his couch, and he was like, you know, this isn't my house, right? I'm like, what? He's like, this is my mom's house. And I'm like, this is your mom's house. What do you mean? Where's your mother? I've been here a lot. And he's like, oh, my mom's actually like, she's from a different country. She's back home or whatever. And I just got out of a divorce. And I'm like, oh, that's awful. Whatever. And then he's like, yeah, it was a long term. He was like really cheating on me for a long time. And I was like, yes. So he's like talking about it, and he's like, what do you want to see what it look like? And I was like, yeah, obviously I love the drama. He shows me the guy. I had hooked up with that guy while they were married. I was a part of this cheating scheme.
You were the mistress.
I was, but there was other mistresses, but I couldn't believe it. So I'm sitting on the couch, and I'm like, oh my God, that's awful. And I'm like sitting there like panicking. I'm like, oh my God, I'm a part of this like long, like cheating scheme.
Years of
ruined his life. He was like on his mom's house now. Like while his life was like wrecked by it. And he really went kind of deep into the emotional. And I was so scared I didn't say anything. Would you have?
Okay, I was just going to ask you, like, I don't know what I would do.
I didn't, because it was not serious. We were never going to date. So I didn't feel like I had to kind of like divulge that.
Okay. Similar-ish situation. Well, not really, but like let's say you're hooking up with like friends, but you didn't know they were friends at that point.
Yeah.
Do you tell the friend that you hooked up with the other friend?
I think as if you're going to continue to hook up with them.
Because you can't just hang out in a group and act like nothing happened.
Oh, no, because it will come out eventually, and then it just looks weirder the longer you wait.
I don't know what I would have said. I feel like I would have been like, I almost wouldn't have been able to control it. Like, I would have been like,
when he showed me, like, my heart stopped. I said, oh my God, this is awful. Because he, like, had just divulged how, like, traumatic that was for him. And I was a part of it. And it could not have just been me. Because it was
no, it had to be. It had to be multiple people.
But the divorce was fresh at that point. It was, like, in the process. Yeah. And then he was like, hey, you want to go back? And I was like, unless and then it kind of fizzled out at that point because we weren't looking for either of us for serious things, but he was being really vulnerable and I couldn't believe I added to the trauma.
And he bought you a phone case.
He did. Don't make it a thing. I will, in my head, don't make it a thing, hand to the face. I said,
no, that's like really hot.
I'm so like, no, I can do everything myself. And I was like, I felt shut down in that moment. I was like, oh my God, Papa, handle it.
Oh, I think it's like, I love when someone's assertive.
Assertive, because I am the assertive person always.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, I feel like you are too, right?
I am.
Yeah, we have strong personalities.
I know, because I'm the one, like, I talked to my friends about this recently. Like, if I was when I am in a relationship with someone, nothing's off limits. Like, I'm so direct. I'll be like, tell me about your childhood trauma.
Yeah, well, you kind of need to be.
I'm just so, I don't beat around the bush with anything. But some people have like such a hard time. And I'm like, I'm almost harder on the person I date than like my friends or anyone else.
I've always said that about myself too. I am the hardest on the people that are closest to me, which I honestly like don't love that about myself. Because I feel like if anything, I should give them more grace. But I almost like, I have a very close circle. And I feel like if you're in it, then like, I have expectations.
I have a standard.
Yeah, and I think that's okay to a point, but I also see like how I faulted in that being like a little too difficult.
I agree. Like looking back at past relationships, I'm like, you didn't have to be that psycho. They were nice to you. And not even psycho, because I'm really not crazy. It's more like I'm like, this is like how I want to be treated. This is like, it's almost like a moral compass that I hold myself to, which is great. Like you should 100% have morals, but I'm also like, all right, you could like loosen up a little bit.
Yeah, it's a medium. It's a happy medium.
What's your sign?
An Aquarius.
I was wondering if you were a Capricorn like me because we have similar vibes.
Yes, we do. Yeah, no, I'm an Aquarius.
What is it? Are you compatible with your boyfriend's sign?
We're both Aquariuses. Yeah.
That's so interesting.
So we're both really creative people for sure. I just think like he's a little bit more of a reserved person when it comes to like, I'm just very like boisterous and loud.
Yeah.
I like that he's not as like loud, and we're both really funny, but his funny is like a lot, it's cerebral. Like I almost have to catch the joke because it's so like well thought out, and I'm like, low hanging fruit, babe. Let's just make him laugh.
He's like smart funny.
He's smart funny, and his references are crazy, and it's so weird. He's only 2 years older than me. I'm 27. He's 29, but like his brother is 30, like 34, I think. So like, and he hung out so much with his friends growing up, like his brother's friends. So his cultural reference points are a little bit older than mine.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're not even that much older than me, but your jokes are like, I didn't see that show. I didn't catch that movie.
I totally get that.
But I'm like, he's not even like the way he's like pitching. I'm like, hold on, you're closer to my age, but
yeah, it's just like he consumed different stuff.
It's very, isn't that? And we're like so close, but like, yeah, a lot of different things.
It's so weird how that happens because I even feel I like missed. I was like a year or two old for like the whole Disney TV that everyone's obsessed with, like the Hannah Montana and the Camp Rock and all that. I was like probably like I could have watched it. I was like on the cusp, but I was probably like 1 or 2 years older. And I feel like me and my friends don't get those cultural moments, even though we're kind of on the cusp.
Yeah. But so I feel like that's the same thing. It's that cusp is really different with media, because I think it was like a media boom then or something.
Yeah.
Because like just certain shows, I'm like, oh, I didn't catch that. And they love to be like, oh, you're just so young. And then I bounce back. I'm like, yeah, it must suck to be so youthful over here. Like, I just like mess with them so bad.
Oh my God. I used to hate when I was like 23, fresh out of college, and I got my first job. I used to hate when people, like the 28-year-olds, because at that time when you're 23, they do seem a lot older than you.
Yeah.
They would be like, you're so young. And I wanted to be like, bitch, you're jealous that I'm young. So now that I'm not 23, I try not to do that to people younger than me, because I think it's so patronizing.
It is. And I think people do it out of like an insecurity or something.
It's like, 100% insecurity.
And it happens a little bit too much, but especially when you're on the other side of it. And I think that's so great that you're being mindful of it, because I think when you are that age and you're feeling like you're in those environments, at some point it's like, all right, like my age doesn't really I'm sitting at the table next to you. So like treat me like I am, you know?
Yes, I always thought it was just like so patronizing. I hated it.
Yeah.
Let's spill the tea.
Spill it.
I watched the Call Her Daddy interview with Hailey Bieber, and I have thoughts.
Yeah.
So I put like this, I watched it that night at like midnight because I'm insane, and then I typed out like notes, and I got a lot of like people agreeing with what I said. And I think my overall consensus, and I know you know like the gist of the Selena Hailey drama, my main consensus was that I thought, as a former like publicist and PR girly, I didn't love the interview. And if I was Hailey and her publicist, I would be pissed with the way the interview went, because it was so focused on Selena that you could like talk about those things and mention it without like it was a 65-minute interview, and I felt like 90% of it was about Selena.
Yes.
To the point where I was like, okay, she said it. And Hailey kept saying throughout the interview, I'm uncomfortable, I'm sweating, this makes me really nervous. And I felt like Alex, as a host, who I think has done really great with other interviews in the past, just kind of like missed the mark on this one, because she just kept drilling it home. And I felt like it was just like a press grab to get like a headline. Mm-hmm. I know you have a take on the whole like Selena sitch.
Yeah, no, I agree too. And my boyfriend's so into it, so he watched the entire thing. He like loves her. But no, I agree with you. I feel like it was a little weird. Let me ask a question real quick, and maybe you'll have more experience in this. Mm-hmm. Do you think that Hailey's team got the questions ahead of time and approved that? Because she's so big. I feel like, how would she have not known that she was walking into that?
And one of my friends in the industry was like, if you don't think she signed off on it after the episode.
I would think so too.
But I could also see Alex Cooper, because she has such a big podcast. I could see her not making exceptions for anyone, being like, we're going to record, you could pre-approve the questions, but whatever said gets published. Like I could see her also kind of having like a hard thing where like, no, I get creative control.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, as an interviewer, I would want that too, because you don't want to spend your time recording with someone just for them to text you after and be like, hey, scrap the interview.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the situation is. I'm sure they greenlit the questions and the topics. I think the issue was
just too much time spent on it.
It was too much time spent.
Especially with her finally, like, I think reaching this point where she's a recognizable force on her own without Justin. I think it felt like a missed opportunity too. I was like, girl, like you have so much going for you. You are an it girl right now. People are loving you. And that's what I was saying. Like, I was telling you about it earlier. Victoria Paris, like, said it so well, I thought. I was like, oh, wow. Like, of all the times to be, like, out of that question, like, or, like, to stop the comparison with Selena to now bring it back up, I was like, where's the skincare? Like, let's get the skincare push,
like
you know?
Just, like, took the industry by storm by, like, telling us that you have chrome nails. Every bitch in New York has chrome nails. Like, I want to hear about it. I want to hear about, like, what happened with you and your stylist. Are you styling yourself now? What happened? Or even, like, what's it like when Justin Bieber on stage sings about you and plays pictures of you?
Yeah, we would have loved to hear more about Justin and less about Selena too. You know what I mean? Like
it was just
their life together and stuff.
It was just so one-track minds, I felt. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I think honestly, I would have been a little pissed if I was Selena. Oh my God, if I was Hailey, because I don't know. It felt like she was a little uncomfortable at times, but I think she did the best with what she was given.
Is there a Selena movie coming out or something? Am I hearing like inklings of this? What is this?
So there's a documentary coming out, and a lot of people think that Hailey Bieber did this interview to
It kind of seems like it, right?
It seems it, but I also think sometimes like the media works in weird ways where like she might have had this planned for a while and she might have done this months ago and maybe it's just getting released now.
Which is convenient.
Like I don't think it doesn't always have to be so timed.
Yeah.
And sometimes things are coincidences. But it is interesting, the timing of it all.
Yeah. Hey, it's so funny to see like that whole podcast just take that like, I don't know.
That pivot.
Yeah, like it wasn't that podcast, was it? Like back in the day?
It wasn't, but like I think just with the Spotify deal, she gets such big guests that it's
huge,
you could do whatever you want when you're the number one podcast in the world.
She also, I think, undermined the idea that I think people would have been equally as interested just to hear more about her as a person and less about that. You know what I mean? Because like you said, it was like a drawn out thing. Like girl, like we would have loved to have heard more about her life. So
I think just as a Hailey Bieber fan, I just want to know like everything about her life.
We're loving Hailey. We're loving her right now.
I've always thought she was the prettiest person ever.
Yeah.
Okay, next topic. Michaela. I don't know how to say her last name from TikTok.
Nogueira?
Yeah, Nogueira. Yeah. So much is going on with this girl. I feel I've like really made it vocal on social media that I am Team Michaela because as a creator, I would want fellow creators to do that for me.
Yeah.
And like, I just feel, let me just paint the picture for those of you that are listening. Basically, Michaela, she is a TikToker. She got really big during COVID, like most did. And she worked at Ulta for years. She does makeup tutorials. She does product recommendations. She always keeps it super real. And she made a comment one day in response to like a troll comment, just being like, I worked a 12-hour day. Like, you try being an influencer for a day. Which, like, honestly, she gets so much shit that I think she's justified to say. Mm-hmm. She works really, really hard and she gets a lot of shit. So for her, it is a hard job. I think for most people it is. And everyone's basically, they made these montages of like firefighters and nurses being like, you think your job's hard? What about these people?
Yeah.
And my response to that was like, it's all relative. Like, what's hard to one person might be easy to another. You can't really say. Mm-hmm. Like, if she finds her work hard, that's her feelings, and she's justified to feel like it's hard.
Yeah.
So I'm like Team Michaela. I think this whole thing has gotten so crazy. She's also been someone that's been really vocal about mental health, and the entire internet is piling on.
I know. Like, just recently was saying things about like how like she wasn't in a great space, and she hasn't been posting at all. So I just feel like this is like, it's just really unfortunate. And it was an old clip that was brought up, you know what I mean? But when you get to a point like at hers, like she's like a megastar now. So people are going to try to tear her down at any point. And I think it was taken out of context. Obviously, we're not going to sit here and pretend that like if we're going to compare them, it's not as difficult to do this to like a nurse or a firefighter. I think it's just understanding that everyone has a different perspective in it, you know?
And also different feelings towards it. Because like my point is like maybe you're a nurse and your job is so hard, but you love it so much and you're so good at it. So maybe like you don't say it's hard at the end of the day because you're like, I love it. Like I thrive. And or maybe you're like, oh my God, this is the hardest thing. It's all relative. Like if you feel like something's hard for you, maybe it is. Like, I don't know. We don't have to compare our situations. At least how I feel is like, if you were to say to me, like, I just did yard work, it was so hard, I wouldn't take it personally being like, well, I worked harder today. Like, what you do doesn't affect me.
Yeah, but the internet is just like, it's cancel culture. It's like at any point they're trying to get people, right? And I don't know. I just feel like it's made me personally think about like, oh my God, at any point.
Anything I say.
Yeah, you really have to be so mindful with anything. Because this is an old clip, right? And she's still... And this just caused an uproar. And it's huge. But it's so funny because I think the narrative's changing a little bit. I was just on the way in here and I was on TikTok and Trixie Mattel like used the clip as like a joke. And she was like, I'm loving this, Michaela. And I think it's like, I want to see her like come back and take the power. Like take the piss out of it and like almost like play with it and be like, oh, you know what I mean?
Do you know what? I don't want her to apologize.
I'm curious. I can't believe
like,
how long I can't believe there's been nothing said.
But like, I don't believe she has anything to apologize for. Like, she just said she had a hard day.
You know, it's so funny. You know who was just going through this right before this?
Tara.
Tara was just going through
and the same thing. Like,
same thing. So I wonder if Tara's sitting there like, he's on me. He's on me right now. I know. Oh, you just got to be really careful. And that's the thing is, Michaela is a sweet girl. We're from the same area, which is so weird. Like, she grew up 2 towns away from me.
Wow, that's crazy.
But she's younger than me, so we didn't like know each other growing up. But everything I've talked to her online, she doesn't deserve it.
She's salt of the earth. She's a nice person.
Sweet, and I feel like it's really affecting her clearly, and I just don't think it's fair. It sucks.
It sucks. Like, yeah, I just feel like other creators should be like supporting her versus like tearing her down.
Yeah, come on. I think
that's what's pissing me off.
Yeah, exactly. If anything, like, hey, a better word choice here, just to like know the arena you're in that you're going to get picked apart. But if you know her heart, which I feel like most of us do, that's not fair to her. You know,
that's how I feel. Like, it's like, also, what happened to giving people grace? Like,
grace is out the door.
People have bad days and say shit. Like, that's why I'm not offended by what she said. I'm like, all right, you had a bad day. I don't care. Like, you know, we all have moments.
I think we're like hitting this time in like media too, with everything is being taken so literal and people are just being like attacked for everything. And sometimes it's really just, right? But in this case, I'm like, maybe this is the example that starts to like turn the pendulum or whatever, where it's like, all right, like this was like an opinion, or this was like just a statement. It wasn't like something defamatory or derogatory. Like, but we're treating her as if she's like done the worst of the worst.
And I don't even think she was trying to compare herself to other people.
She wasn't. I listened to the whole clip.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, guys, like, don't relate other people's like internal struggles to yourself.
Yeah.
Because it's not about you. It's about them.
Yeah.
That's all I'm like trying to basically say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was crazy. The last thing on my list, and then we have to wrap up, is just like updos are back. And like I made this whole like collage today of like women with their hair up.
Yeah.
Do you remember that like 90s like prom hair when girls would like, it would be like this big like honeycomb on their head with bobby pins like up so high. I'm seeing all these people in like Milan and Paris for Fashion Week, Kim Kardashian, Kylie, with these updos.
Oh, I just saw that. I know exactly the ones you're talking about with Kylie and Kim. Yeah, but is that achievable by the average person without a hair team in the house?
It's like
can someone do that?
It's like the Jersey, Long Island hairstylists are finally getting their moment.
They're
like
back, baby.
Yeah, like that's what they specialize in.
Wow.
And I was like, are we not going to talk about this cultural movement that like Long Island hair is back in?
I've also been seeing, and you probably already talked about it, but I've been seeing a lot of people doing like the Chanel scarves on like their updos.
Yes.
I feel like, hair is coming up. It is.
It's coming up. It's getting bigger.
Though. If you're able to do it, hey, I say do it.
Oh, 100%. Every trend that I'm like, oh my God, new trends, I don't know if I like it, I do it.
Yeah.
Because I can't skip out on a trend.
No, and it's fun to look back and kind of see your like your space and like pieces of like trends and stuff. Right?
Oh, I joke. I'm like, I've been preppy, I've been Guido, I've been everything under the book. Like,
I love it.
I change with the tides.
Hey, keep it fresh, keep it current.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Where could everyone follow you, listen to your podcast, stay up to date?
Yeah, I'm Zachariah Porter on Instagram, ZZ Zachariah on TikTok, and the podcast is called Camp Counselors.
I love it. Everyone take a listen, and I love how many directions this conversation went in.
I think it went great though. I loved it. This was so much more fun than I thought it would be. I'm so happy.
Yay, thank you. So fun.